Hey everybody, welcome to Hoops Hobby Hangout. Happy Thursday evening. This is ninth hangout that we've done. Hope to have a fun hour today, focusing on the Panini era of basketball cards. So the time that Panini had the license, and obviously now that the license has shifted over to Topps, we'll kind of talk about and focus on the stuff we liked, set wise, design wise, maybe stuff we didn't like, take bigger picture takeaways, things like that. And then also along the way, kind of share a lot of the things that people had shared with us throughout the week of their takeaways from various sets and Panini's time with the Monopoly, the exclusive license. So as always, we're here all back to our the normal lineup, I guess. But Ryan and Adam and Steve are all here, and I'm Joey. We will jump right into kind of talking about our conversation of Panini's time with the exclusive basketball card license. A good place to start, maybe just kind of general takeaways. Like we all, I think, collected, as did many people collect throughout a big chunk, if not all, of the Panini era. So big takeaways of the Panini's time with the license, as well as anything you think like lasting legacies or whatever, or something like that. So if anyone wants to start us off there.
I know we got a bunch of like questions and comments, and Joey, you want to just kind of start with something like that? We could go off of one of those to begin, or
yeah, let's do it. That's a great idea. So these are the things that came in when we solicited people's thoughts on Instagram through a question on Instagram. And that is going to be, so the first comment that came in was from at the crazy collect. I think the crazy one on YouTube when he jumps into the chat. He said he's
in the chat.
He's already here.
Oh, he's in the chat already. All right. I missed him. Oh yeah, there we are. Hey, what's going on? He wishes to say that he's going to miss the iconic sets we will no longer see. Since you're here, this is a crazy one. Do you want to point out or specify any sets that come to mind when you mention that?
And while we wait for Zad to give some feedback there, because I agree. I think there's some great sets, and one of the things I don't think Panini gets enough credit for is, not to go into the whole history, but when they, right, Joey, it was when I think they came to America by buying out the Donruss properties, right? So they were able to come in and establish themselves using some long-standing brands like National Treasure, Certified, Elite, Donruss itself that goes back into the 80s, 90s, 2000s status. I mean, there's a lot that they pulled from. Crusade they pulled from. I went through the list at one point. So there's all those heritage brands that, yeah, they're not Topps Finest and Topps Chromes, but they've been major parts of the industry. And I mean, National Treasures is going to be a huge loss. I mean, that's one that has some great heritage, especially with football collectors. And then obviously they've come in and also added Flawless, Immaculate, Prism, etc. that, we're just not going to see anymore. And they've been in the game for 16 years now. So they've been they really, when you think of how long the NBA has been around and how long card collecting has been the way it has, I mean, 16 years is a big chunk of change to have a solo license. So definitely going to be a major change with brands.
What are people going to do without Prism?
Mm-hmm.
Can't get their Prism fix, man. I guess this is going to move to Topps Chrome or whatever else they come up with, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did when Panini started making Chrome sets, right? They went from Topps Chrome, they just picked Prism, right?
Yeah, and that was first introduced in 12-13. So for the first 2 years, I guess you had kind of the overlap year, right? 09-10. And then we didn't get Prism again until 12-13. I don't know. I have a differing view on whether or not that replaced Topps Chrome, but it was the closest we had. I want to say that optics a little bit more Topps Chrome-ish in my mind, but it didn't come out until later, so it's kind of up for debate what would cover the whole span of it. Probably Prism.
But I think what we're going to miss with this, and obviously this change is happening, and there's absolutely more marketing behind this change, and there's more hype, and there's obviously with social media increasing more influences. I mean, those of us that were sort of on the boards and kind of going through the transition, whether you like the shiny stuff or not, like people just having open discussions about this reminds me of Topps Chrome. This, is Select going to be more the Topps Chrome and Prism the finest? And people are jonesing to make those connections. And we all joke about the next PMG stuff with, I mean, how many different iterations of Certified have been called the next PMGs?
Yeah.
But I think those conversations were enjoyable and helped bring people into the hobby. I know I enjoyed like just discussing and debating with people, and I didn't care for 2012 Select. I've actually never been a big fan of Select, but having open discussions with people, as opposed to nowadays it's going to be whichever influencer gets paid the most to say, hey, this version of Topps Chrome is the next thing to go hype and scratch a lottery ticket with. And I don't want to get to, I can be so jaded about this stuff, but I think
okay.
I think in addition to the brands, those open discussions made things fun. And yeah, you're right, Ryan. What never replaced Topps Finest or Chrome. And I know Adam, he hasn't said anything yet, but he'll go back and chase some of the other refractors, but he's not going to go and grab much of the Prism stuff, right? So it's not a direct replacement, but those discussions were really enjoyable, and I think we'll miss that part of this transition.
For me, like the issue I have with like Prism or Optic or any of that stuff is I enjoyed it when it first came out. I opened 2012 Prism when it first came out, and it wasn't anything crazy. I bought it at the LCS for like $75 a box the day it came out, $80 maybe. So it was not hyped about it. Like it was fine, I liked it, but it wasn't worth thousands upon thousands of dollars. So I think that's kind of where my, I don't know, use your word, jaded aspect or opinion of it came, is when it was being touted as the next big thing, to the point of it was outselling cards that I much preferred. And that's when the disconnect for me happened with any of the shiny stuff that Panini makes, when everything started becoming so much more valuable than what I thought it was worth, basically.
That's true. And what a boxes of Prism costs when you compare it to something like even what Flawless used to cost, right? So that's, I agree. And I would say for myself, I collect Prism and have been doing team sets of Nuggets for pretty much the entire time that Panini had the license. And I had to duck out from getting the Jokic golds and stuff like that, which I always enjoy putting like the gold Prism sets together, but they just got crazy. It's like, am I going to go buy an auto of his, like a patch auto, or this Prism card? I mean, the Prism's cool, but for the price of it, is it actually worth it?
The crazy one he mentioned in his comments. I know we asked him. He said Prism for sure, Select, National Treasures, kind of like you guys were mentioning. Brings up Mosaic and Hoops. Yeah, I mean Hoops is going to be an interesting one to lose for sure, and then also Noir.
Hoops is a good
which
one.
It is a good one. I mean, I don't know what the brand Legacy or whatever is, but you look at Noir cards, and I know, Steve, that you kind of mentioned that they really built Noir into like a really cool, unique type of set. And I'll say even the Noir cards that are not the most sought after or expensive or whatever, like the spotlight signatures and stuff like that. I mean, even basic jersey cards have really nice hollow foil, and that not two-tiered, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but the base sets that pair up, those paired base sets are really cool. Some of the really most like beautiful use of hollow foil I think Panini does is with Noir, so it's a good shout out.
Yeah, and I'll just add, Hoops is going to be a sad miss for some of us who just like low end sets. Same with Donruss, we brought it up before, but a lot of those like kind of iconic sets that you collect and put your team set together. At least I did a lot of those and just put them in regular binders and stuff like that. I guess you have your Topps base set now that you could go after. I don't know what other brands they're going to bring in, but I mean, I'm not chasing any of it to be honest, because I've decided not to buy Fanatic stuff, but maybe, a couple years from now I'll go back and do it. But yeah, that's going to be interesting to see that kind of, hey, I just want to buy a set of cards for cheap. What comes of that? Because as we've seen with Topps, they put out the flagship and it doubled in price from scalpers. So what's next,
Yeah. So someone mentioned in the chat, I think it was, Sean mentioned 12-13 Marquee. So that seems like something I guess Marquee kind of, was it only 12-13? Was that the only standalone release for Marquee?
Yeah, Sean's really holding on to that one good day back in 2013 when Marquee dropped, apparently.
I enjoyed that set too. I liked all the different types of base.
I think they put it in Chronicles later on.
Yeah,
but it was only had the initial release. Yeah, it's like a full set back
Right.
then.
Right. What's up, Evan?
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up?
Hey,
Great. How
Glad I
are you?
joined in. Good, good. I don't have a ton of Panini experience like you guys, but I thought it'd be fun to just join in anyway.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna miss? What are you gonna miss seeing released every year?
Probably hoops, to be honest. I know it's kind of like, the ugly stepchild in terms of their release catalog, but to me that always kind of ushered in a new season, a new draft class, and it's pretty timeless. It goes back to the '90s and even before that probably. So um, I think that's probably what I'll miss the most. I'm assuming they'll come out with a hoops equivalent type brand maybe, but um, yeah, that's probably what I'll miss the most, surprisingly.
What do you guys not view Topps flagship as the hoops equivalent for Topps? Do you view it as something different?
I think it's definitely similar. There's like obviously like hoops or Donruss base, like either one of those could probably be kind of intertwined with Topps flagship, just paper stock. But then
Mhm.
it's like you run into the gambit of how many Topps products there are for baseball. Are they going to make every single one of those for basketball? So like it could become kind of quite a bit when you start having Bowman paper, Bowman chrome, Tops Chrome, Ginter Chrome, like every variation of every product in a chrome and a paper and everything in between. So I'm curious to see what they actually come out with.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I do think Topps would probably be the closest thing. It's got the thing that it's got the commemorations of the previous World Series champions in baseball, I think, right now, and like Hoops does with the NBA finals and maybe the road to the playoff stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm gonna miss Hoops too. I love Hoops, the inserts, the base, the action shots. I think, yeah, I agree. I'm gonna miss Hoops too. We'll keep it going. Cardiac Kemba PC on Instagram said that they did a great job overall, which is very, I don't know. I don't know if that's consistent with the sentiment that I feel is publicly accepted, but he called it the one of one era of basketball. You guys have any thoughts or comments on that comment?
I'll start with the positive because as someone that has talked a little bit on this like show about collecting both NBA and WNBA, I definitely feel a sense of security knowing that Panini still has the WNBA license, and it's more maybe a little bit more right now of the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. But I think when we take a step back, Panini did not have a lot of public support when they first came into the space. People were upset that the NBA went to, a monopoly basically when they went with the single license. And the last few years have been underwhelming. They never got back to where they were pre-pandemic as far as quality until, recently when they've had to. But I think when you step back and look at, they did more good than they did bad. Yes, they overproduced some stuff. Yes, they got carried away with parallels. But even when they were doing parallels, I appreciate that it wasn't just a little change in the foil color of the name of the player, that they had deep, rich colors and they came up with some patterns and they tried some stuff that was home runs like galactics and unique inserts. And part of what frustrates me about Panini is just them playing into capitalism. It's not their fault that idiots hyped kabooms in downtowns to a point where they're just printing money. That's not Panini's fault. Unless they're paying people behind the scenes to do it. And they are, I think, in the whole, as far as depth and quality of relic cards, which is something I love, I think they sustain the longest run of high quality relic cards with good patches. So, I think if you want to pair the best of UD Black against Flawless, yeah, you're going to lose that battle. But if you look at the big picture, I think Panini was more of a net positive for collectors than a net negative, despite some, very challenging negative aspects. But we're going to find out very quickly with Fanatics that they're not the only ones playing those games as far as the negative cards. So I think Panini did a really good job, and their 2012 to say 2017 run was pretty darn good, and you could compare that to a lot of 5-year runs from other manufacturers, I think.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think I don't know exactly what he's pointing out here at the 101 era of basketball, but they did have a lot of 101s, and when you hit one back in the day, it was actually special. And then, the pandemic hit, and even really before that, and you had 101s of parallels. So, you'd have like 5 101s. It kind of got a little ridiculous. But back in the day, they did introduce a lot of the sets like, original Prism. I guess it did have a 101 of a parallel because they had blacks, and I think they had black mosaic. but it was a little bit more limited. So I don't know if he was referring to that or not, but I just figured I'd throw that in.
My thought on that is, I know it is a little ridiculous, but isn't it kind of, I feel like I've always been of the opinion that it's kind of great. Like, I think it's great that, 6 different Kings collectors could get a Prism 1 of 1 from a certain year of a player or whatever, right? I mean, it's I understand the downside to it, the overproduction, over paralyzation. I get that. I also think there's a flip side to that coin, because in theory, hopefully it can make things more affordable. It can make things more accessible. You're not going to go 20 years without 1-on-ones showing up of that player during that year. I mean, I think there's both sides to it. But I like that the more that's out there for collectors, I think the better it is as you want to build your collection.
I think the only problem I would have in that kind of sense is that they made more and more of it, and the price only continued to go up. That's not their fault. Like Steve said, capitalism. I understand. I can appreciate. If I was Panini, I probably would have done the same thing, if not to a worse extent, to milk the cow completely dry. I can't fault them for it. But at the same time, as a collector who's done it before Panini and will continue to do it after Panini, the highs of Panini are extremely high. The lows are extremely low. It's going to be one of those things. It's really going to depend on which side of the coin you're on, like you're saying. If you're a pro Panini guy, you're only going to remember the highs. I've always been kind of I miss Upper Deck. I miss Donruss Leaf Playoff, and kind of been on the negative side. So I'm probably going to look back and be like, I still prefer what came before. I don't believe I'll prefer what comes after. I'm not ignorant to believe that Fanatics is going to step up and be better than them. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the best is behind us, but I don't know. I feel like there's no point in, we've talked about this, I don't want to go too long on it, but there's no point in trying to step up and be greater than ever when you can sell out of every product you have at a price that's unknown to collectors ever before now, and have no barrier to entry at all. So like, why would you stop? I don't get it. On Panini or Fanatic side, there's no reason to be better.
Yeah, and I'll just touch on this before we go, but yeah, I do agree, Joey, and I think some of us get a little jaded on the fact that back when maybe we were collecting, there was less 1-on-1s. It was more of a big deal to get it. But I understand that, collecting nowadays is different. So you can't always just throw, the modern environment under the bus or anything like that. You have to respect it for what it is. And I do think that there being more 1-on-1s out there, like I remember 2022, probably because I collect Gallinari, which by the way, I got my Gallinari jersey on tonight, trying to represent the beginning era of Panini. But yeah, to get back to that, I was seeing these cards, and just because they were 1-on-1 in 2022, people are paying hundreds of dollars. And then come 2024, I think I bought some, Sparkle Prism Optic or something like that, 1-on-1 of him for $40, and it was like back in the old days when I used to pick up stuff for that cheap. So it goes in cycles, and it's not all bad.
It is interesting and worth noting, I think, that like boom of social media was during Panini's time. So obviously that happened in the 2010s, and then with the pandemic, it really Panini really started seeing cards really started to see the effects of social media and pumping and hyping and all that stuff. So yeah, good stuff. I agree. It's a good conversation that is maybe worth expanding on later. You guys mentioned the patch cards and the relic cards. Wolves Collector NBA on Instagram said that they did patch cards super well, and then mentions that Court Kings was also fun and had a different feel. I know, Evan, that you really are a patch collector. Do you want to kind of comment on whether you agree that patch cards were that Panini did patch cards really well, and if so, what you think they did well?
Sure, yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't have too much experience in like collecting during Upper Deck's heyday in terms of when they were, producing the patches and stuff. But in terms of just looking at Panini in a vacuum, I mean, I think that they've done a pretty good job. I think the one thing that they could have done better in terms of just maybe improving their authenticity statement or the guarantee on the back of the card, like they could have maybe, kept it a little bit more consistent over the years. Like sometimes they'll call it a swatch, sometimes they'll call it a patch or game used memorabilia. Sometimes, when when it's like a game dated patch, like they don't always say like the player on the card wore it. Like they said it was worn during their like this player's game. So like in terms of that, I feel like that was their only kind of like maybe misstep in terms of their overall like patch production. But yeah, overall, I think they did a great job. I mean, they're very consistent and they kept everything pretty much like patch wise to 25 or lower, and then napkin pieces, anywhere up above that, like to 49 or 99. So overall, though, I'd say they did a good job.
One thing I'll just add to it that, when we look at to give, I'm going to sound so positive with Panini tonight, and I do overall, like I said, like Panini, but I think they did a great job using Game Worn relics early on to give value to products. I mean, you could get a Game Worn. I pulled the Baron Davis numbers patch from a box of Prestige for like $65 back in 2012, and products like Crusade, Brilliance, etc. Obviously they started to. We know they lost their value over time, added stickers, more napkins. They've gone unassociated, but they did a really good job for a large portion of their time in the hobby using game used relics, or even I will agree with Kyle from Wax Museum podcast, rookie photo shoots or, draft day relics, those aren't game worn, but at least they have some significance. I think they did a really good job, not just putting those in high end and being able to let collectors get value with that. So you might get a sticker auto, but you could also get a game used relic from a low end set. I think they, really don't get enough credit for that.
It's true. I mean, it was a lot harder to get that stuff back in the day. I think that's why your brands like Exquisite, the old Upper Deck stuff that had patches in it goes for quite a bit because there just wasn't as much out there. So when Panini brought that into the game, it's like everybody can kind of get a game worn piece of something, and you don't have to spend a ton of money to get it either. Even if it was a napkin piece, it was kind of cool to pull out of like a low end product.
And I think they did a good job in learning from what was before them too, right? Like they didn't ignore the history. They like if you start looking at when like relics or on card autos really started picking up and what tops did well over their time or not did well, Upper Deck did well or not did well. I do think Panini incorporated a lot of, hey, let's look at what maybe happened with some of the high end Upper Deck sets and what people are kind of gravitating towards, and how can we incorporate some hollow foils, some game used relics, multiplayer autos. So I also think, not just with the relics, but I think they did a good job of sort of bringing along some trends that obviously paid off for them and, have sustained, time, because on card auto, patches are still a huge thing, and that's not something they came up with, but they continued the mold. So give kudos there.
Throw in something positive from my end. They definitely did get some patch stuff put into the products that wasn't seen prior. Like I know that's been talked about, but there are players that got incorporated in Panini patch cards that weren't available before, and maybe they would have if they got to this point, but I can't speak on what would have been, but they at least got some players in there from the 50s, 60s, 70s that I was happy about. So it's not all bad by any means. It's just, like I said before, just the quantity of stuff that I don't care for kind of weighs down my appreciation for the good stuff that I do.
Adam, when you're talking about the uniqueness of game use stuff, give a little quick oversight of the big lot of cards you recently got in. I mean, that is as,
how about those?
that's as unique as it gets, right?
Yeah, the sneaker cards. I have one sitting here. I've been chasing this one for years. So as I'm talking bad about Panini, I still chase their cards. It's not that I hate them. It's just I don't like them as much as I do Upper Deck. But this was one that I've been looking for probably like, I don't know, 10 years, probably as long as the product's been out. But Connie Hawkins, soul of the game.
Oh, that's very cool.
Which are, for anybody that hasn't seen them or held them in hand, they are like 360 point cards, and they have a large chunk of the soul of a game used shoe in them. And Panini was able to get players from the 70s, 80s, 90s up to through today, and they're definitely, I mean, to Adam's point about those had some unique stuff. It's not just jerseys; they've kind of thought outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, I've got a few other ones over here I could show. And they did.
And those are usually like numbered to 40 or so, right, Adam?
That one's numbered to 10, I think. They do different numbering on the players. So like some players they'll have excess memorabilia of. So like I think Kobe's numbered to like 50 the first year, but then you have a guy like him the first year numbered to 10. This one's kind of cool. It's got a piece of the Converse All-Star logo inside.
That's awesome.
For Magic. And then like speaking on like the rare variations, trying to see if I can find. There's some other guys that aren't super easy to find here. If I can just zip through these. Like this one here. This is the first year. I think he may be the most short printed. Jason Kidd. It's numbered to 8.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Yeah, those are really cool with the like clear design or logo or whatever. The sole, it's really cool when it's not just a flat piece.
yeah, they have a really cool design to them. Like Steve said, they are unbelievably thick. Some years vary. Some cards you all have from that set won't even fit in 360.1 touches. So like I have some that I have to put in like these little like I don't know 50 card kind of overlay
Slider
cases,
boxes, yeah.
slider boxes, yeah, because they don't fit in 360 point. I don't love that. That's one downside I would say is that they're not able to be completely matching in terms of the way I store them, but overall, man, it's a small complaint to have for having cool pieces of game use shoe in them.
And then they
Obviously,
used up the rest of the shoe and other cards. Like a collector that I follow on Instagram has some great Alonzo Mourning patch autos with pieces of the leather from the uppers. I think we've probably all seen the Dominique Wilkins pump card with the actual pump tongue
Mm.
out of it.
Yeah.
They have laces chunks. They have tags from so yeah, they've done a nice job. Yeah, that's really is that
Nice.
Reebok on Dominique.
Dominique Wilkins Reebok leather.
Oh, that's really cool.
Adam.
That's a shoe. Yeah,
Yeah.
sneakers watch.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love the sneaker stuff. So like, I don't collect just basketballs. We talked about too, but anything that's outside the norm of just a jersey. So like in football, helmets or cleats or basketball shoes, like that stuff to me is so cool. And Panini's done a great job of that. There's been stuff before with shoes, like they've happened before Soul the Game or any of these sneaker swatches, but they've definitely taken it to the next level without question.
Yeah, no, I agree. I also agree about the Court Kings comment too. I thought Court Kings was well done. I like the canvas with the artistic, sometimes a little too artsy for me. I don't know. I'm not always a big, huge fan of the artsy stuff, which is also why I'm not like a Kaboom, Downtown Manga, Prismania, whatever. That I feel like there's 1,000 of those cartoony artsy sets now. But I thought Court Kings did a really good job. And if you don't mind, I just want to like share one insert set from Court Kings that I think is really underappreciated, and that's the Points in the Paint. Points in the Paint, I think, was like 3 years, but this is the Points in the Paint from 2018-19. I don't know if I can get it to focus. It's like mostly blue card, great action shot. The 2018-19 were just big men, which was really cool because I like that it's very on themed. The following year, I know 1920, they did what they do for most insert set, which is just get the stars and stuff. So I liked that before they sold out. Eventually, it was really focused on it being a very well themed set. But there's sets and inserts from like I really like the 0910 Supreme Court Kings set. Court Kings did a lot of good stuff.
One of my few hobby regrets is Court Kings for a couple of years had the box toppers, so it'd be a 5x7 card, and they had SP autographed copies, and I pulled one of Jokic that was autographed, and I sold way too early.
I remember that.
I had in my collection a Larry Bird, and Adam and I talk a lot when we were watching Celtics games, online, that Jokic is like the closest thing to Larry Bird in the modern NBA. Not the same type of player, but as far as being able to, control the game at so many different levels. So I would have loved to have kept those and paired them up, but it was at a time when I just had anything that wasn't PC had to get sold so I can keep buying other cards back then. But definitely, I can still picture the card. One of those few that I regret. I mean, and those cards were great for autographs because that canvasy background just held ink so well.
Very true. I was really disappointed when they went to sticker autos because just the canvas on-card autos of those in those first couple of years were just awesome. That was actually sets that I'd put together. And then when they started coming out with stickers, I was like, nah, I'm kind of done with this. Even though design didn't really change, it was just kind of more disappointing because you could buy those boxes. I bought a ton of them back in the day for cheap and pull really cool auto cards. And, they had, the rookies had the different levels too. Those were pretty cool, like
yes,
1 through 4 or something like that, or it'd be harder to get as you go. That's a great set.
Yeah, and they had that portrait set, the Cinque Più Belle or whatever that everyone loves.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So it was good. So I guess on the note of all those sets, because I don't think we're gonna be able to like get into every set in detail. Maybe we'll just rapid fire some general set brands that people mentioned before getting into specific year releases or whatever. But Mitten State Collector mentioned the gold standard set and jersey variations with print runs matching games played. I don't know what that's referencing, where the print runs on some of the gold standard stuff was matching their games played. well, I'll just mention that one, and then right now Jeff in the chat mentioned totally certified, gold standard 2, and preferred. And I think those were the sets that were mentioned for a negative. We got another Panini replay shout out as a low set. So
I'll disagree with Jeff on preferred. I always thought that. I mean, the silhouette autos were nice, but I always thought that set was kind of hot garbage. They had a lot of they tried a lot of different things in there with foils and die cuts and a lot of on card autos. Like there was good value in it, but I never personally enjoyed the aesthetics of preferred in a year.
I think maybe he was saying one of those were positives and the replay
Yeah.
was a negative. I think he was saying gold standard was a positive.
Oh no, gold standard and certified, absolutely. But I think he also threw preferred in
he
there.
mentioned preferred as a
Oh,
positive,
okay.
and I'll agree with
Okay.
I love preferred. I know that it's not for everyone, and I know, like you said, Steve, the aesthetic is very unique and it's very particular, especially with the booklets. Obviously, preferred was just like the king of booklets. But I think that if you look at the quality of the stuff, there were no, to my knowledge, sticker autos. In the beginning, they had the silhouettes, they had the finals memorabilia, they had the stat line memorabilia, they had the what I think are really cool kind of sets with one-on-one where you have like two players in the booklet. So it's featuring them very similar to the silhouette release, this year. On-card autos. I think some of the on-card auto sets were really well done. Like I think in 2015, there was an unparalleled on-card auto set.
Yeah.
Then then in 2012-13, there were those like 8 to 10 player jersey or patch booklets. I know, Adam, you've got some of those. Yeah, I think preferred. I miss preferred. I think it was an amazing set at the time. I don't know why they got rid of it, and I mean, I guess they must have felt like most people felt the way you do, Steve. But yeah, for me, preferred is one of the highlights, one of the very very big positives from Panini's time.
Well, that's what's kind of cool too, is that we can all have our
I was just gonna say, I love that.
Cards, you know. Yeah. I think it's
Screw
great
that, Ryan.
because
Steve's wrong. Preferred's pretty nice. Yeah, I do love the silhouettes myself.
You don't even like Panini, Adam. Just go mute yourself.
But the silhouettes are some of the best things they've ever made. So like I have to disagree. But to be fair, though, some of the best ones were when they preferred when they were in Crown Royale. Or am I getting it backwards? Preferred was first.
Yeah,
right?
Preferred was first.
Okay, so yeah, preferred did make the best ones then the first couple of years. But on the topic of gold standard, one of the sets I love that they did is the black golds. I know Steve and I have talked about these quite a bit, but like just as an example.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite sets too.
Yeah, I love these.
Yeah,
They're
that's cool.
printed.
They're super short
They have
printed.
great patches.
The shine.
Yeah, they have a unique shine to them. Like they're very cool. It's something that's definitely different from every set you see every release. So I really like these. Gold standard's one of my favorites.
Big fan of the white golds. I know those are the black golds, but the white golds, they're numbered to 25. I like those a lot too. I just think overall that set just does patches really well.
I also like, just to give gold standard a few more flowers. I don't like it for the players that were current at the time, but I love the laser cut relic cards where they have like career stats. So like they'd have going up the side be a laser cut like 25,692 for Paul P. I don't know that that's exact stat for like his career points, and they would have assists, and they use that over time with different stuff. But the gold standard ones particularly look really good. So for a player that was retired at the time, and then they'd have a base and a nice chunky patch version. I thought stuff like that was really cool. Gold standard, at the peak was one of their better sets for sure.
Do you guys know what the jersey variations were with those print runs? Does anyone know what that's referencing that Josh mentioned, Mitten State Collector?
No.
I think it's
I'm trying to
probably like
think.
an image variation that's numbered to the amount of games they played like in the previous season, maybe. That's kind of what I'm
No,
getting
but
from it.
I told Josh that he should come on someday because I think he should come hang out with us. He's got a really interesting take on like collecting and player versus team collecting. So we'll just set that aside and just admit to him that we had no idea what he was talking about. He can clarify himself when he wants to hang out with us.
Yeah, good excuse to get him on.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that's probably on me. I should have clarified, but I guess I figured maybe somebody would know what we're referencing here. That kind of did it for the overall like set brand references. but there were a lot of people that shouted out specific years or specific sets. So just chronologically, so obviously a lot of love for 2012. So Grumpy Collectibles said that 2012 had amazing sets, similar to 2003, obviously LeBron's rookie year. And then Lawson Collector 3 specifically pointed out 2012 Crusade and Elite as sets. So I don't know if as sets that he enjoyed. So I know, Ryan, you had some cards from Crusade and Elite that year to kind of be able to highlight that.
I actually have some that Steve gave me back in the day. So these were the basic just jersey, game worn jersey though. You could pull out of these. So this is a Ty Lawson from 12-13 Crusade. Yeah, just kind of maybe a more lower end set. You could also get autos out of it. So this is an auto, is a sticker auto, but pretty cool set, that 12-13 Crusade. And was that the only year that they did that set, Steve? Do you know?
Yeah, so I can go on a little bit of a tangent because this 12-13 Crusade is one of my top 3 favorite Panini releases, and that was the only year that they truly did it. Then they moved in. That's a lie. They had Crusade. They started to change the iterations of it. They had it again 13-14, maybe 15-16. Then it became Excalibur, and then it was Excalibur retail only. 12-13 was so it was 6 cards per box, and you'd get either a relic, an insert, and then a subset card per pack. So like in addition, have you guys ever seen the Kobe Bryant card that they call the Angel card, which is a Crusade one, and like the background supposedly looks like angel wings, and people pay like $150 for a base card? That's the Crusade base set, and then they had a subset called Crusades, which were coming off of some football sets. I believe it was Adam might know. Leaf maybe used to make them, I think, back in the early 2000s, made the original Crusades. And they were like a blue and gold subset that you get like a couple per box and 300 card set. It took me probably 4 years to put that set together because you only got 1 or 2 per box and they were pretty rare. And then there were a few parallels on top of it. But there it is. That's a base. So Evan's showing the nice Kobe Bryant base card right there. So people, after he passed away, decided that it looked like angel wings behind him and started paying, instead of $1.50 per card, $150 for base
card. It does look like angel wings, but yeah.
At that point, I sold my Crusade base set and just kept the subset. But they had Kevin Durant and Kobe Bryant were spokesmen for Panini back then. So they had on-card autos in the set. I pulled the KD myself. They had out of 25 or rare or prime versions of the relic cards that Ryan was showing. At one point, I had the entire napkin set, so it was 100 rookies, 100 vets. I tried to go for the prime stuff, but a couple of them, I want to say like James Worthy might have been out of 2, Dennis Rodman out of 2, maybe Sean Kemp was out of 3. So they had some very rare prime ones that made getting the set pretty impossible. But I love that. I love that product. I thought there was good value in it. The cards were neat. You could get jumbo game worn relics for cheap, and that's a top 3 set for me for sure. Here's trouble.
So it was pain. It was, you guys are doing great, and I'm loving everything you're saying. And I'm in the middle of doing dishes, and my kids drive me nuts. But the gold standard image variation is, so like for Dennis Rodman, every team he played for, there's a card with him in that jersey. And the more games that they played, so like Eli, I'm on a call. I have homework. Okay, then do your homework. It's never a dull moment. But there's a Rodman in a Mavs jersey, and I think there's only 2 of them. But the problem is that they're numbered to like 299, and they didn't break down how many of each one, so you had to kind of do the fuzzy math yourself. And so you might have got a really rare variation and you didn't realize it because it's numbered to 299. But I know the Rodman Mavs, I think there's only like 2 or 3 of them, and I've seen one. And I always wish they would have put Kukoc in there because, I'm kind of biased. But can you see me okay on this video? Because I actually had some cards out.
You're good.
And so because I got some monster books. So that's a Bulls Prime. Nice. But I got one with Kobe on it too.
Yes, preferred.
So that's
Robert
before
Farrell,
what
yeah.
year is that? Is that
Yeah.
14, 15 or something?
It's 12, 13.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a 12,
But
13. Okay.
But let me, and I got a bunch. In this one, nope, not that one. This one's a monster, and I got it for I think I got it for $80. It's got a Kobe, Fisher, Drexler, Olajuwon, Pip, and Kukoc.
And that says repeat.
Yeah, repeat. And then, here's one. So there's not a regular version of this one. This one's a prime. I'm on a call.
Sorry, but is this a good football?
You have to ask Eli. But yeah, they didn't make a jersey version of this, so there's only prime in the 101.
Nice.
But it's got Kukoc on it, and it spells Europe. But I think that was the main ones I wanted to show. But I got some of these ones too that are the primes, 2-on-2. But yeah, Preferred was fantastic. I do have a Kukoc box topper, Court Kings auto in here somewhere. But yeah, I don't want to take up the whole call. But yeah, no. Yeah, I'm excited for Topps Chrome to come back. But yeah, there was a lot of good Panini products, but the replay was terrible.
We talked about replay last week. Move on.
Well, no, but
go do your dishes.
But you know what? Well, I told my daughter to, and now I'm doing them. So I don't know if that means that's good parenting or not. But they go, "Oh, I don't feel good, Dad." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't feel good either, but I still got to do dishes." We're not talking about dishes. We're talking about Panini. But yeah, no, thanks for letting me join. Hopefully that
Thanks,
was
Jeff.
some. No, really, thank you for letting me. It's one of my catchphrases. But yeah, no, I'll let you guys keep going, and I'll go off video so you don't have to see me doing dishes.
All right,
we're gonna pull you back
cards
one time when
you
you're
start
not
getting everything wet.
Yeah.
Don't go ruining those cards. Those are very nice.
Yeah. Thank you. So, all right, back to you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up.
See you, buddy. Thanks for joining.
Later.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and that's awesome. Thanks for clarifying that. I had never heard of that before. Those gold standard variations.
Yeah, no, he's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, now that he says that, I remember him, and it really was. It was something like I'll use fake numbers, but if Pierce played 1,000 games and the first 800 of his career were for the Celtics, numbers like 1 through 800 were Celtics cards, and then you'd get 20 net cards, and then 15 Wizards cards, and et cetera, et cetera. So,
and that's literally the number of games in their career they played with that team.
Theoretically, yeah. I've never researched the set, but after Jeff started talking, I remember him telling me about those cards and different players that were in that set. So,
very cool, awesome. Yeah, that was very, very informative. What are some other things that people shouted out? So, Battery Acid Drinker, great name by the way. Shouted out 2013-14 Prism as his favorite of the Panini lineage. Well, there's been a shockingly small Prism talk today. Do we want to talk about 13-14 or just maybe what we think is the best year of Prism? Or
is there really much? I'm not trying to. Is there really much to say about Prism? It's sort of their flagship. It's fun. It's overproduced now. It's all about the power. You know what I mean? Like it's good. I honestly like the consistency that they've kept it. I like the name recognition, the brand recognition. But 12-13's king. I agree. 13-14 probably looks the best. Gotten pretty dull since then, but I mean, I think.
So would you say your favorite's 13-14 then, or what's your favorite year?
Yeah, I think so, especially because there's like the design consistency is almost identical football to basketball, so I can get like a Tom Brady that looks nice. And the only reason I don't collect much of it is because the Celtics are sort of hot garbage in 13-14, so there's not really like fun players to collect other than retired guys, but. I think design-wise, 13-14 is my favorite, and it's not overproduced, but it was a little bit easier to get. And there's 12-13 is great, but you open a box of it, you might get 2 or 3 silvers, no golds, and then you go to retail and get a green. There just wasn't enough hits to make it a super fun set. Where I think 13-14, the design's still great, the shine's great, but you had a little bit more fun ripping it open.
13-14 was the first 101s too.
Yep.
I may have misspoke earlier and said it was 12-13, but it was actually 13-14. But I want to shout out 15-16. That's my favorite year.
Me too. That's my favorite.
So the reason it is not for the design, it's just for the photography. And I thought this is a Gallinari gold from 15, 16. But yeah, that was definitely my favorite year just because of the photography. They had a lot of that backboard photography with like guys dunking or laying up or whatever. Whereas in the other sets, which I do have I've got a lot of gallon tonight. This is the prior year. These were very golds. This is 14, 15, but it was kind of similar to 13, 14 as well, where they're like, if you just went off design, for the card itself, the design is pretty nice and the golds were very gold, but I just prefer those action shots personally. That's a lot of my favorite sets too, is just based on the photography they used,
Yeah, and I agree, not just the quality of the photographs, but just how large the photo windows were. I feel like Prism can have a tendency to have really thick borders, and the actual action shots are pretty small.
Yeah.
So 15, 16 did a good job of keeping the borders thin. Gary agrees, or Gary also liked the pack odds, and then the crazy one throws in it's the only Prism card of McDice. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they did have some retired players in that year, well, the other years too, but.
Couple of years. What you said about Prism and 15, 16, Ryan, is why I'll die on the hill that Optic's a much more enjoyable product for me to chase, because I like the photography better, cleaner design, good shine, on-card autos, like it. But mainly, it's not Stadium Club level or photogenic level photography, but it's a lot of in-game actions, smaller borders, more view of the court. I like Optic 10 times out of 10 over Prism as far as just collectability, not value, but just collectability and fun cards to chase.
Yeah, here I got something for you.
Oh, nice.
Is that a gold vinyl?
Yeah,
Nice.
It's a gold vinyl. I actually got it in a break back in the day. I used to do team breaks, back when it was just guys buying boxes and breaking them with their friends. But yeah, I pulled that Emmanuel Moody. And you're right about the photography. It was basically on that kind of 15, 16 Prism level. Mm-hmm. This is the first year. This is a
16, 17.
16, 17, the first year of it. But yeah, I agree. It was the photography generally was better in Optic after the year that it came out, because 17, 18 Prism is the worst. It really is. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that's when I kind of decided, like, nah, I'm going to stop collecting Prism. This stuff looks terrible. Then the next year I kind of got back into it, but yeah, it definitely got a little bit hyped, and I think they got a little lazy, in my opinion, after that kind of time period there, 16, 17, 17, 18.
You see, I hate 17, 18 Optic, and I hate that design. I think it's not pleasing to look at.
Yeah, everything 17, 18 wasn't that great. Actually, a lot of the designs that year are kind of not so hot.
17, 18 Optic, Evan, has a soft spot in my heart, because I bought one box of my LCS and hit a Tatum Hollow Auto, which was his rookie year, and
that's cool.
Big, bold, large on-card auto. When it was probably just a couple months into his career, so that one. And I do like that. I like that rookie set. I know it's a lot of photo shoot used images, but I actually like that rookie set, and I like that year of the rookies insert. But I'll agree, the overall product was not its best, and I think they stepped it up. And I think the last few years of Optic, just like the last few years of Prism, like if you showed me, like I have the full run of hollows of Tatum in my binder. If you mixed them up and asked me to name which year the last 3 or 4 years are, I can't, because they all look relatively similar, and I think Prism's the same way. But still, collectability, like fun of collecting, I still take Optic over Prism.
And that was true though with those on-card autos, because you're right. Because I think, when did Prism start having autos? I feel like they put autos in there, but they're all sticker, and I feel like Optic actually had the on-card stuff, or at least for a little while.
Yeah, Prism started at least as early as 14, 15, because I think in my Crowder collecting, the only stuff he has from 14, 15 is actually an auto set. It was like a 5 or 6 card rainbow, and I think I remember having like Brandon Bass, and there was some like the reds from Target and blues from Walmart were supposedly short printed autos back then, but you're right, they're all sticker. And then Optic came out, and you could get on card autos with the rookies, and it was just a whole, then you had these shiny cards with on card autos, and they fit in a binder. They're not 180 point cards or anything. It's kind of my jam.
Yeah, and think about that. Like, Panini actually had to try to come up with something new to sell these new products, right? To get people hyped about it. On-card auto is cool. It's kind of like Prism. It's got shiny cards, but you get on-card autos. And then, later years hit, and they can just sell whatever. So trying to come up with new ideas kind of went out the door.
Revolution, they went away from the on-card autos to the stickers, and then I think Optic this year too, they got rid of the on-card rookie autos and their stickers this year. So 24-25
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, which is one of the downsides to Panini, obviously, is kind of what you're saying, Ryan. And Steve, to your point about how similar every year looks, like that's what kills me with a lot of Panini stuff. I hate not being able to see, and that's not just those sets. That's NT. That's That's NT. That's immaculate. That's flawless. Like all the years, so many years, there's just so little variation in design. It's frustrating, in my opinion.
I feel like it's hard to make a new design for those flawless NT immaculate sets because they're all just basically like blank canvases with like swooshes on them. So it's like, what angle of a swoosh are you gonna do this year? You know, I feel like they kind of put themselves in a corner when designing those earlier sets, and then kind of just did little bit variations through the next few years. But overall, though, I think even in terms of like their autos, the auto subsets and patch subsets within NT and Flawless, like I feel like they have a fairly decent variation in terms of how they look like from year to year.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Let's keep going through the comments. So Forkbeard's basketball cards, Tim said 14-15 for him is the best design. I don't know if that's a specific set, but I think it's the overall release year. And then he actually says that it was crappy for a while and then it got better in 24-25. A couple other 14-15 love is for Gala. We haven't mentioned Gala, but 2014, somebody asked, Eurofractor said, is it the best base set of the Panini era? And he was mentioning to me on Instagram that he didn't really collect Panini and then came in, and I don't remember the details of the conversation, unfortunately, but he was saying that he like that base set is what he landed on for collecting for Panini. And then mostly 90s basketball cards said totally certified mirrors from 2014. So a lot of 2014 kind of love there. You guys mentioned 2012 to 2016 as kind of the prime of the Panini era or whatever, but any thoughts on any of those comments or sets that were shouted out?
Steve, you shook your head when Gala came up.
Yeah, you shook your head no.
And I appreciate Gala. It's just not my style. So they're like 75-point cards, which kind of bugs me. They're very artistic. They have like a player silhouette in the back. They have the team logo. Then they have a little action shot of the player down below. They're clean. They're nice looking cards, but I would much rather have something closer to Photogenic or Stadium Club than I would this multi-layered, team colored, focus on just the player. I like in-game action shots. I like to be able to see, what arena they're at. So the out of 8, base rookie card thing is kind of cool. It makes, Chase interesting. The base card, it's out of 79. I'm pretty sure there's no parallels. So, and then they had some really great patch sets. They had some nice auto sets. One of my favorite Larry Bird cards is a Gala coaching auto. So they did some nice stuff, but just as far as the best looking base card, I wouldn't say that. Just never a set that I like as a whole set really, spoke out to me. I'm definitely more along the lines of, like I said, optic or photogenic type of cards.
Yeah, I wish I would have read these questions beforehand because I do have a jersey number Gary Harris from that 14-15 Gala set. It's actually one of my favorite like rookie cards of his because of the design, like you were talking about, Steve. It's kind of unique. I can't remember exactly if it was like a black and white type design. I feel like maybe the background was black and white and he was color the opposite or something like that. But
yeah, it's close to that. The player image at the bottom would be in color, and the player sort of silhouette would be faded by the team color that's So I'm assuming it's probably like a black and baby blue for the Nuggets, and his face would be sort of in that color design, if I'm picturing it right.
I think you're right about that. Yeah, a lot of great sets that year. For sure. That's when I kind of got pretty heavy into basketball. Now I was still picking up stuff a little prior, but I got really heavy back into basketball because that's when I started collecting Nuggets cards again, where I was kind of all over the place the prior years and even doing baseball a little bit and stuff. So I do have a soft spot for that 14-15 time period for sure.
I agree about the 24, not necessarily 2014, but I think totally certified. And I think Steve, you kind of mentioned that you liked it and you thought that was a good one when it was shouted out earlier, but I agreed with that. I know that it was the whole PMG thing with the totally certified mirrors or whatever, but I thought that totally certified until it kind of shifted its structure, but in 2010-11, I really loved the RPAs from Totally Certified with the like rookie up the side. It made for some really nice patches in those RPAs.
Agreed. Nothing to add to that other than well said, Joey.
All right, our last one in terms of comments that we got, so it's good that we were able to fit them all in, was a set you mentioned, I think, Steve, was 2017 Essentials, and that's Watashiwa 05. 2017 Essentials remains one of my favorites. Common inserts, SSPs, parallels, all beautiful. I think he's going after, is it maybe the Platinums? I think he may be. I know that, Ryan, you're going for the Platinum.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we have a tariff war here?
Yeah, I don't remember.
That's another thing. I should have read these because I could. Yeah, I think I am 9 off in the platinum set, and it's a 200 card set, so I've been chasing it from the release. But yeah, I agree. Those were great. Not a ton of parallels. I want to say there's definitely under 10. I can't remember the exact number. I think it was between 6 and 8 or something like that. But you had the platinum parallels, which are like blue hollow foil. They look real similar. I'll throw an image up on the screen when we get the edited version of this. But real similar to like Flare Showcase back in the day, if you guys remember that. And that's what drew me to that, because again, I've mentioned this, 17-18 was just one of the weakest Panini years, in my opinion, at least. And that was like a breath of fresh air where everything else was kind of bland and boring. I didn't really want to chase the shiny stuff. I really gravitated towards those. You also had purple hollow foil 101s, very reminiscent again of Flare Showcase, because if you look back at like 97, 98, 99 Flare Showcase, their 101s were also purple hollow foil. So I think I have the Jamal Murray 101 from that year. Not as cool as the blue platinums, to be honest, but yeah, that is a stellar set. So I agree with him.
Yeah, and you mentioned like how 2017 might have been not the strongest Panini release year, but something that I liked in that 2014 through 2017 time, maybe 2018, was that there were a lot of one-off sets that I think were really nice, or two offsets. Like Gala was a really nice set, Essentials was a really nice set, 2017 Vanguard was a really nice set. There's a crazy one mentioned Cornerstones. I think Cornerstones was maybe 2017 and 2018.
Yeah,
like some of those sets that didn't get the staying power for whatever reason, that didn't get the staying power that they kept making them annually, year after year. They were really nice looking, had good auto sets, on card autos, good relic sets, and unique designs. And maybe that's why I kind of gravitate towards them, because those designs are not recycled to the point of oblivion. So I don't know, just a thought. And I agree with the crazy one.
I'll give a shout out then, if we're going to call it the oddball ones. 2016-17 Aficionado is one of my favorites. That's the one with the tip off and the opening night. This is a great one of my favorite and I'll post a picture on our shared account. One of my favorite on-card auto designs from Panini is out of Aficionado. It's a vertical one. It's I don't know. It's got a foil image of the player in the background, an action shot, a big open spot. I've got the Jaylen Brown rookie jersey numbered auto, and then I've got the Bill Russell to go with it as well. It's one of my favorite sets.
That's awesome.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. We should probably start wrapping it up or end it there. We got through all those comments. I think everything that was also in the chat was shouted out too. You guys have any like last thoughts before we go?
No, I think we said what we can about Panini. My final thing is I just want to say thanks to everyone that was in the chat tonight. I was trying to type away while we were talking. I think the chat was really active. I love having you joining us and Jeff coming on. Just continue to sell the whole hangout thing. I think tonight was really active. This was fun, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Jeff is a wealth of knowledge. I was disappointed I couldn't join last week when you had.
And we got a little behind the scenes of his family life. So.
Yeah. We're getting back on though. Yeah,
it's always exciting.
He's funny for sure. I do want to shout out Noir real quick. I don't know if anyone said anything about Noir, but that's definitely my favorite set.
I think we did mention Noir, and yeah, I agree. I love Noir. I like I said, great on-card auto sets, great patch sets. All the hollow foil usage is awesome. I'll shout out specifically, I love the 1920 hollow silver base with like the full, I think it's the association. I don't remember which base set, but the full team logo in the really bright hollow foil is so nice.
One that I don't think we we discussed, I really like too. Noir was one of them I was going to name, but also Impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the kind of
Oh yeah.
the canvas material. I grabbed a couple. I love the number versions. Like this year is a little later than what we've been discussing, but it has like almost a kind of watercolor background.
Color Blast.
Let's not go too crazy. But I love these. They have like a cool element of a few different things. You have kind of the pastel watercolor background. You have the unique foil on the numbers. Then you have hollow foil on card autos, canvas. I mean, it's like a lot of cool texture and kind of neat designs on those. And they have them throughout a lot of the Panini era. I don't know exactly the first year of Impeccable, but it's not just a one and done or two or three and done set. It's one they did pretty well for quite a while.
And like the one you showed right there, the Oscar Robertson, that was based on, what was it, 11.5? What was the stat on there? And it had it numbered to the kind of the stat that they
both of them. Like, so this is numbered to 8 for the amount of titles Heinsohn had, and this one's numbered to 11 for 11 and a half assists a game. So they do
and that's
some
really
unique numbering on them.
Yeah, that I agree. That was one kind of unique aspect of that definitely made it stand out.
And I know we got to wrap it up, but the Impeccable Victory Signatures one is awesome too, where it's a highlight from a championship winning player, and when possible from something in the series, and they highlight a stat in a specific game, and it's an on-card auto, and it's hollow foil. It's go ahead. Yeah. Love that set. I mean, it says the score. It's just so cool.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
That is very cool.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that before too. That's great.
They have different years of them. They have a vertical year as well that looks really nice. But yeah, I like those a lot. Impeccable is one of my favorites.
Good call, Adam.
Yeah, good shout out. All right, well, very cool. Well, thanks everyone on the screen, off the screen, in the chat, listening later, for hanging out. Hopefully it was a cool, comprehensive view of Panini. I know there were some questions. There was a question about all of our top 3 sets that we didn't get to. And we had some player collector questions from last week we didn't get to. Hopefully we can get to those at some point. But until then, everyone have a great week. We'll see you all later. Looking forward to hanging out in future weeks.
Thanks, guys. Be well.
Appreciate it, guys.